From Michael Gordon Peterson to the man who would become Charles Bronson was destined for a life of crime. Arrested multiple times for various offences, his transformation into one of the most feared inmates in the British justice system is a tale of darkness and despair.
My name's Charles Bronson, and all my life I've wanted to be famous.
Bronson's psychology presents a unique challenge for those seeking to understand the mind of a criminal. His actions defy conventional explanations, making him a fascinating subject of study. From his violent outbursts in prison to his infamous hostage situations, the Charles Bronson case has captivated the public imagination for decades. But what drove this enigmatic figure to commit such acts? Through our meticulous analysis, we will uncover the dark truth behind the legend of Charles Bronson. Prepare yourself, people, as we go into the darkest recess of the human psyche. Born Michael Gordon Peterson in Luton, Bedfordshire, he was one of three sons of Ira and John Peterson. His father later ran the Conservative Club in Ayrshire. He changed his name multiple times in his life. His uncle and auntie each served as mayor and mayoress of Luton in the 1960s and 1970s. His auntie loved him so much she described him as gentle and mild-mannered and never a bully. He loved fighting since his childhood. His petty crimes in his childhood including attacking a manager at Tesco, smashing parked cars after arguing with his girlfriend's father, fighting in nights out, crashing a stolen lorry into a car. These crimes didn't land him in jail, but gave him probation and got him fined. He met his first wife, Irene Kelsey, in 1971 and married her in 1972. They had a son 5 years later, then divorced. Bronson, now 70, who has been in jail for 48 years, almost continuously, much of it in solitary confinement, said he had deserved a good 35 years of that stretch because he had been naughty. It's surprising to know he committed 95% of his crimes whilst in prison. His half-a-century jail career, he has been moved 120 times between different prisons. He has been held at times in each of England's 3 special psychiatric hospitals. The timeline of his criminal background is as follows. He was first convicted of armed robbery in 1974, aged 22, and ended up first time behind bars. He was sentenced to an initial 7-year period, and time got added up for repeated violent attacks on screws and fellow inmates. He carried out many rooftop protests in the prison, often naked, and was held responsible for hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of damage. After getting released in 1987 after 13 years, he started practicing bare-knuckle boxing in the East End of London. He changed his name into a more suitable Charles Bronson after the Hollywood actor. He became so confident in his moves that he was involved and won in many fights. It's believed there was a day when he killed a Rottweiler, an aggressive breed, with his bare hands in a £10,000 fight. He ended up back in jail in 1988 for a robbery at a jewellery store. He was initially sentenced to 7 years. These episodes involved attacking an inmate with a glass jug, trying to poison an inmate, and taking governors hostage at Wormwood Scrubs in 1987. He was released from prison in November 1992. He was free until he was arrested again just after 53 days over a robbery conspiracy. In September 1993, he was proven guilty and was given an 8-year sentence. He was taken to Wakefield Prison where he spent 40 days in isolation, most of the time naked. In 1994, Bronson held Deputy Governor Adrian Wallace hostage. In 1997, he was jailed for a further 7 years for taking 3 prisoners hostage at Belmarsh High Security Prison in southeast London. He barricaded the prisoners in a cell with him, threatened to eat one, and demanded a helicopter to Cuba, an axe, submachine guns, a cheese sandwich, and an ice cream. The siege ended after he slashed himself with a razor. He was moved back to Hull Prison after his behaviour improved. Bronson's father died in September 1994 and he didn't get a chance to attend the funeral. He was sentenced in 2000 to a discretionary life term with a minimum of 4 years for taking a prison teacher at HMP Hull hostage for 44 hours. When he then went into regular jails, 2 prison officers were nice to him. They encouraged him to take up art and he started holding paintbrushes with the hands that he once used as weapons. Despite his criminal tendencies, Bronson also displayed artistic talents, creating a significant body of artwork during his time behind bars. This unexpected talent offered a glimpse into the complexity of his character and provided a different perspective on his troubled life. Bronson said he spends 23 hours a day in his cell, a large part of it doing art, which he says has raised thousands of pounds for charity. I am anti-crime, I am anti-violent, I just want to go out and do my art. I have become a man of peace. While in prison, Bronson has created several artworks and many have been sold, with some proceeds donated to charity. In 2014, a sale of 200 of his pieces raised more than £30,000 at auction. His works in total have raised over £100,000. He was also fond of writing. Since 1999, Bronson produced artworks, poetry and books. He produced 11 books. He has won 11 Kostler Awards for his works. Diving deep into his new hobby, art, in August 2014 he announced his name change to Charles Salvador as a tribute to the famous artist Salvador Dali. He began to create new art under his name. Whilst in prison, Bronson also developed a fitness regime in 2008. In 2002, he published the book Solitary Fitness, detailing an individual training process while serving in a jail room that is largely insufficient for size and with minimal resources. Bronson married a Bangladeshi divorcee, Fatima Rahman, in 2001. He converted to Islam and changed his name to Charles Ali Ahmed. Fatima first saw him in a newspaper article and began writing letters to him. After 4 years they divorced and Ali Ahmed renounced Islam. He realised he had spent a lion's share of his life in prison and he got fed up. He tried many times to appeal against his life sentence, but they were rejected. In April 2004 he appealed in court against his life sentence, but it was rejected. In August 2013, he handed over a petition with 10,000 signatures to the UK Prime Minister, and he wrote to him, "I want to live what's left of my life and not be buried in the prison system." After submitting a request for freedom, his attacks on prison officers didn't stop, and he still remains as a Category A prisoner. Salvador proposed to the actress Paula Williamson the day before Valentine's Day in 2017 and she accepted. She got to know about him by a book written on his life, Broadmarsh, which she said made her laugh and cry and badly wanted to meet him. The proposal happened after 5 months of her regularly visiting the prison. In July 2018, Bronson asked his wife for a divorce after a leaked photo. And sadly, on the 29th of July 2018, Paula was found dead in her home. Bronson is currently spending time still at HMP Woodhill, which is a Category A prison. And he goes on to say, "I am not a murderer or a rapist. I could live next door to anyone and they wouldn't know I was there." Bronson's most recent hearing, which was March the 30th, 2023, went ahead and again he was denied parole. So Charles is still in HMP Woodhill, waiting for his chance of freedom, and hopefully the system will let him go soon, because Charles has spent the majority of his life in prison, isolated, all by himself. All because of his behaviour in his younger years, but Charles is now old and he wants to just get on with his life, but because of the seriousness of his offences in the past and the category of prison that he still remains in now, Charles will not be released until he goes down the system and gradually gets down to Category C and then Category D, and hopefully he can spend the remainder of his life as a free man in the community, because that's all he wants to do now. But hopefully, people, you've enjoyed listening to that. I'll be doing more videos on Charles Bronson himself, because he deserves to be kept in the limelight, because he's one of the most famous prisoners in the world. But as usual, people, if you are enjoying the content, remember to comment, like and subscribe.